They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I guess in this scenario, this is no exception. So take a look at the picture shown on the screen here. This is Note 24 EMP mod, yada yada yada. This is a Nick Fury. And as you can see, I'm the only one who's fought this fight. And if you take a look at the left, two of my champs are KO'd, both Archangel and Peni Parker. Absolute disaster. How did I get here? Well, I guess we gotta go back to the start. Hey everybody, welcome back for War Number 2, Season 29. I'm fighting for the Alliance SAS, and for this war we're matched up against THRUN. I believe they're a Turkish-based alliance. If I tried to pronounce their full alliance name, I would butcher it for sure, guaranteed, so I'm not even going to try. We know that they finished in Platinum 1 last season, but I do believe that they were affected by a few dockings. So if it weren't for that, they would have finished in the Masters Alliance. So expecting a pretty good fight here. Definitely trying to rebound from the opening loss to the season. Got a pretty loaded board here with 8 fights assigned to us. We're starting off on Path 9 in Section 1, where we have a Rhino, Professor X, and a Tigra waiting for us. Then we hop over to Path 1 on Section 2, where we take on a Nick Fury with EMP mod on Note 24, Sasquatch, Iron Man Infinity War, then a Silver Surfer to finish off the path, and like last war, we are finishing off our war with a Hulkbuster on Rage, Extend, and Return policy. So this is our attack team. Peni Parker is making her Alliance War attack debut for me. Picked her up in the off season, was able to dupe her. She's at rank 3, Sig 20. She's going to take on 4 fights, the Rhino, Professor X, the Tigra, and the Nick Fury in Section 1 and 2. Human Torch is coming along, taking on the Sasquatch, the Iron Man Infinity War, and Archangel as per usual. Rounding at the team, he's taken on the Silver Surfer and the Hulkbuster at the end. So, first fight, Section 1, we're on Path 9. This is Hazard Shift and Schaudenfreude. Peni Parker versus Rhino. She is XL. He's going to go unblockable at a small chance. So don't have to worry about that. It is possible though, but hopefully we've stacked enough Spider Sense charges for that not to matter. I am using an advanced power boost, as you can see here, just because I have a ton of them in the overflow, and hopefully that will kickstart the fight for us. I'm going to try and throw the SP1 while Rhino is just over either his first bar of power or second bar of power. That's going to give us some bonus Spider Sense charges, and we get all of Peni Parker's bonus damage off her special 2 with Spider Sense charges, and that also gives us the chance to auto block like we just did right there. We end up eating a hit because Rhino goes unblockable, but we auto block the second, so pretty decent safety net. That definitely saves our bacon there. And we are at a special 2. I think I'm going to try and gain one more Spider Sense charge by pushing him over a bar of power, but quickly glancing at my own power, I'm going to get pushed to a special 3. So I end up firing off the special 2 anyways, and it does a pretty good amount of damage. We've got 8 Incinerates ticking on Rhino here, and it's doing a healthy chunk of damage. I am going to try and finish the fight with the special 1. That's not going to do it. I probably should have just waited 1 or 2 more hits more until I would have got to my special 2. Regardless, no harm done. We get through that first fight with Peni. One slight mistake there. We end up letting an unblockable kind of slip through, but we had enough Spider Sense charges, so all good. Second fight, Note 18, Hazard Shift Resistor, Power Focus 1. This is Professor X. I do have to be mindful of the Falter passive here and triggering Miss, because that will interact with the Untouchable's defensive tactic. As per usual when fighting Professor X, just have to worry about parrying his dash medium, and then I'll try and get to my special 2 to finish the fight. So here's our second fight with Peni. I think I'm going to either bait a heavy at the start or dash back. There we go, he throws off a heavy and we're able to kind of start our combos, get our damage in. And he's got Power Focus 1, and I kind of forget about this at this point of the fight because I think I'm going to try and focus on pushing him to just over that second bar of power, but it's going to take a lot of hits to do so, or I'm going to have to trigger Untouchables a bunch, which I do there. And as you can see, if Power Focus 1 wasn't a thing there, I'm pretty sure that would have pushed him over that second bar of power, would have gained a bunch of bonus Spider Sense charges, but I mess up. I completely forget about Power Focus 1 here. But regardless, we're at 10 Spider Sense charges, and we're sitting in a pretty good position. I'm going to trigger the Miss here, just so I can get my hits in the next opening that he gives us. And at this point, I think I'm going to try and get to my special 2 to hopefully finish off the fight. And he's at 60 channeling charges, so we do have some time to spare before he hits 100 and all of his special attacks go unblockable. So hopefully we reach a special 2 here. We're going to fire it off, and that finishes the fight. So that special 2 is super satisfying to fire off, especially when it closes out the fight like it just did. So there's our second fight down. Here's our third fight of the war against a Tigra on node 21. Hazard shift, blood in the water, power bond. I do have to watch out for Tigra's special 1 and special 2 just because they're unblockable when she's at a distance. And I tend to get tagged by her special 1 more than I would like to. And also have to be mindful of Mystic Dispersion at a high level, just in case I dex a little too much and that feeds her power. That'll push her up to a special 2, and if I'm cornered, that can get pretty hairy. So I'm going to miss the opening parry, hopefully try not to dex there, and we get off to a decent start considering we missed a parry off the start. And I'm just going to try and cautiously bait her special 1 here while keeping an eye on if it's unblockable or not. So she's going to fire it off, I think fairly soon. There we go. We're out of the way. We don't trigger dex. So the only issue there is I was late to punish her special 1. I end up getting parried, and the Spider Sense charges kick in and save my bacon for the second time this war. So pretty thankful for that mechanic. It's one of the reasons why I like playing Peni Parker so much. She just feels like a safe character to use for that reason. We are at 7 Spider Sense charges. I think we should be able to finish the fight as long as we get to her special 2. So like I mentioned before, I get clipped by Tigra's first hit of her special 1. The ruptures essentially eat away half my health. That's going to cost a few potions, but get to her special 2, fight's over, no worries. Only price we pay here are a couple of potions, and that's alright. We escape with all the attack bonuses for section 1. Head over to section 2, node 24, EMP mod. We're using Peni Parker against Nick Fury, and this was an absolute disaster on my end. Obviously, we were looking for Peni Parker's duped ability to get rid of Nick Fury's second life. If she's duped, when he heals that giant amount, it's going to trigger a heal block and essentially incinerate him to death. And with that interaction, you can bypass Nick Fury's second life, which tends to be the more difficult one from a defensive side. But what I didn't take into account, and what we completely missed, was managing EMP mod, Bubble Shield, Aspect of Evolution, Burden of Might, aka the nodes that he's on, with the tactical charges that he gains since I'm a non-mutant. So as you can see, he's already at 7, and at this point, I'm panicking in the back of my head thinking, I don't know how I can manage the 4 nodes plus managing his unblockable. And as you can see, I should have waited 2 more hits just to push him past 20. I don't. I get tagged. I'm bleeding. And the fight is starting to snowball here. And as you can see, EMP mod will stack up. So the longer the fight goes on, the more likely it is that Aspect of Evolution comes into play, as well as EMP mod, just with those passive shocks ticking me down. And in the blink of an eye, this fight is over. So, not a great debut for Peni Parker, and at this point, I'm pretty frustrated. I just felt completely underprepared there, and completely botched the execution. So our next best option was Archangel here, and I'm more comfortable fighting Nick Fury with Archangel. Obviously, the nodes here aren't ideal with Bubble Shield, Aspect of Evo, as well as EMP mod, but the plan here is to just pray for really good RNG, get a few Neuros, get past his first life, and just try and close out the second life before any of that other stuff matters. So I have to balance turtling up to prevent him from throwing that special 1, along with Bubble Shield. And one thing I do forget with Bubble Shield is going to come into play later. The video kind of skips a little bit. I don't know why, something with the recording, I guess. But we're not going to miss unfortunately, we're not going to miss the part where this fight absolutely snowballs in a bad way once again. So, in my mind, I'm just trying to rush to the end of the fight, and as you can see, we got past his first mode. We have 3 poisons, 2 bleeds, but I forget that once the Bubble Shield is at 10 charges, he goes unblockable for his next hit, and that completely sends me in a panic. I try and throw a Hail Mary special just to see if I can trigger Neuros and finish the fight. It doesn't, and unfortunately he used up all the invulnerability hits, and I wasn't able to tank a special 3, and there's the second death in a row. And that's how we got to that point at the start of the video. 2 deaths to Nick Fury here on node 24, and at this point I'm feeling super frustrated. I feel awful for watching the execution in both fights, especially this one, because I should have known that bubble shield would make him unblockable after a certain number of blocks, and as a result I gave up 2 attack bonuses, which could be all the difference here. And so Tang ends up finishing the fight with Apocalypse. He'll pick up a bonus charge, but regardless, those are 2 attack bonuses in the garbage. And I have to try my best to kind of recoup, shake it off, and finish the war, because I do have a bunch of fights left. And this is node 30, Vigor and Indomitable. I'm going to use Flame On here, just for Sasquatch. I don't think I need it for Iron Man Infinity War afterwards. And at this point, I'm just fingers crossed, hoping that I can avoid a 3rd disaster for the war. And this should be a pretty straightforward matchup, considering Sasquatch is a Mystic. Vigor and Indomitable, they don't present that big of a threat, especially against Human Torch. And as you can see, this is going fairly well. We're able to push Sasquatch in the corner. Our spacing's great. We get a good chunk of damage from the power stings there, and I'm going to be able to close out the fight by firing off a special 2, stunning him, and then kind of just closing off the fight from there. So as you can see, we trigger the stun, and he's at less than 10%, and that fight is over. So big sigh of relief there, even though I'm still pretty shaken up from node 24. The war is not done yet. I still have 3 more fights. This next one is going to be node 40, Buffet and Indomitable. This is Human Torch against Iron Man Infinity War. Pretty comfortable with this fight. Pretty comfortable fighting Iron Man Infinity War. Just have to bait heavies and then counter with my own heavy. And then to build smolders, I can parry or block the SP1 projectiles, and those are energy based hits, so that's going to build smolders alongside blocking some of his basic attacks. So this fight should be fairly straightforward, just have to be mindful of when he reaches 15%. But hopefully we have enough smolders by that point that just landing a few incinerates at that stage should be okay. And obviously Iron Man Infinity War's AI, it's pretty aggressive with throwing the special 1, so rarely ever do you get cornered fighting Iron Man Infinity War. Just have to keep an eye on the amount of armor passes that he has. I'm pretty much going to be sticking exclusively to heavies, so there shouldn't be any way for him to auto block me, which would be one of the ways for this fight to kind of go south. But we are stacking a decent amount of incinerates, and it's kind of slowly melting down his health. I don't really care about the chip damage. This is the only fight that I have Torch for. Archangel is going to close out the rest of the war for me, so I don't worry about the chip damage. I just want to get through this fight without dropping any more attack bonuses. And once I reach my SP3, I know that I kind of have that in the bank. That was a mistake on my end. I must have just brushed just the heavy command, and I ended up throwing a heavy unintentionally, but thankfully it doesn't actually have any ramifications for the fight. So we're at 18 smolders, we're at 20 temperature, we're in a good spot. He's gonna hit that 15% phase soon, but you can see the incinerates that we already have on him. They are doing a decent amount of work, and it looks like one more heavy counter should put enough incinerates to close the fight, which it does. And there we go. There is our 7th fight down. We have 2 more to go, and our next one is the shared mini in section 2. This is I believe it's a Silver Surfer, and as you can see that I have a pre-fight waiting for me there, and that is going to be kind of important, just because we're taking on the Hulkbuster at the end. As you can see, it is a Horseman pre-fight from an Archangel. That's Tang hooking me up here, and this is straight counter, Outlast, Buffet, Chitinous Thorns, and I don't have to worry about the bleed damage because I am a Horseman, so I have 100% resistance to bleed. So this should be a super straightforward fight with Archangel, and kind of like Tigra, I tend to get hit by Silver Surfer's special 1, especially right after finishing my combos, and if I'm really close to him, I end up getting tagged by that initial beam. So that's something I have to look out for here, but hopefully the fight is over before that actually matters. I am going to get a little bit of willpower healing from those armor break debuffs that he gets from triggering the phase off the heavy. But once we get a few neuros rolling, I'm in a good spot. He's got 2 rolling. Hopefully we can stack up more, and there's 5. There's that kind of horseman brokenness kind of coming into play. It just makes things easy, and that's what I'm talking about there. I end up dexing a little bit too late, get hit by the last part of that beam, but the fight's over before it really matters. So that's just cost me a potion, and at this point of the war, I'm just trying to get out without messing it up anymore. And I have one more fight. This is Note 48 Rage Extended Return Policy. Archangel still a horseman. We aren't going to have the benefit of the Stormbreaker pre-fight here, so shock damage is going to be an issue. I am going to fire up a combat regen boost just to maximize my health pool, and just pray that the horseman brokenness kind of helps apply neurotoxins, and we can kind of get Hulkbuster down before the shock damage can eventually tick us down. So I do have to worry about Extend here. Once again, Extend is going to prolong Hulkbuster's unblockable buff, meaning that if he is unblockable, it's probably wise to punish it with like a multiple hit combo just to kind of eat off time. But as you can see here, we're able to land 2 neuros. He goes unblockable, and I'm just going to back away a little bit. I'm just trying to take a look at the amount of shock damage I'm taking, and it's not too bad. Willpower is doing a decent job alongside the combat regen boost of healing me up a little bit, but it is relevant here, especially the longer the fight goes on. I just have to keep up pressure, keep trying to apply neurotoxins, and we're lucky enough that the unblockable didn't trigger there. We only had 1 neurotoxin up. But now we have 4, so he shouldn't be able to trigger any of that stuff. And we are approaching the halfway point. We have an armor break that's healing us up for a little bit to kind of recoup some of that shock damage. So we're in a good spot here. We just have to make sure we keep baiting out special ones, keeping an eye out for the unblockable, trying not to get tagged. We are at the last 25%. We have 4 neurotoxins on. We're in the red zone. I'm feeling pretty good. He drops down to 2 neurotoxins, so there is a chance that he triggers the unblockable, which he does there, and I get tagged. So I'm against the wall. I'm like, get me out of this fight. He's at 5%. I'm going to throw my special 3, and I'm just hoping that this is going to end the fight, and I can kind of just move on from this war, which is exactly what happens. So thankfully, things got a little bit hairy at the end, but we were able to close out with the special 3, get all the attack bonuses. But regardless, pretty tough end to the war there for us. As you can see, that this is the dagger here. We end up losing the war 10-12 with a difference of 2 defender kills, and that definitely makes it sting even more, knowing that my execution could have been the difference, and it was. So we got no choice but to try and rebound for war 3. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you then.